Welcome, everyone. Let's tap in together. And today with Daniel Schmidt from Awaken the World. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I will let you introduce yourself and what you do in just a moment. But I actually wanted to start with talking a little about the exchange we had on email, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
because it opened something interesting up for me. Because it was whether this was a match for me as a therapeutic astrology podcast. Is that a match for what it is you do with meditation and what you'll share more about the pathless path and non-duality? And I'm really glad for your questions because it made me realize, I mean, I call it therapeutic astrology, and within that you can't hear that in the name. There's also Qigong, so there's also energy work. But regardless, that is still the technique. That is the tool. So the title is pointing at the tools, and it's tools that I love. So it's very intentional like that. But I mean, for example, I just started with an acupuncturist with needles, yeah. And I have amazing spiritual liminal experiences when I'm there. But what I want is not the needle, right? So it's the effect of it, and so I was just, because you asked, I kind of was inquiring. I know that's a word you use as well. Inquiring within myself around what is it really, and it's closer to insights from a mysterious plane or a spiritual plane, or healing. And it's not the therapy, it's not the astrology in and of itself. So just wondering if you had some comments on that.
Yeah. Our exchange kind of brought the question to me. I was sort of asking it to myself as well. And yeah, it's interesting to me. What comes up for me right in this moment, I think, there's a lot of gateways into kind of what's hidden in ourselves and into the unconscious. And, Carl Jung, I love Carl Jung and his one of his expressions, the Red Book, he talks about how, the unconscious will, until we make that unconscious conscious, it sort of rules our life, so we call that fate, or we call that, the whatever we call it, the intelligence of God, or whatever's working behind the scenes. Until it's integrated, it seems like it's something separate. So I think there's many doorways into these other aspects of ourself. And so whether it's astrology or psychology or spiral dynamics, these new psychological integral theory methods for delving into ourself, I think it's all just revealing the patterns that are in play, within us. And then once we see that, it's no longer unconscious. So it's no longer just running in the shadows. So I think, there's a place for everything on the
Yeah.
path. Yeah.
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 Great,
Mhm.
great, excellent.
Mhm.
And I'll remind myself to come back to a little bit about what you just started out by saying with the unconscious. But I wanted to just give the listeners a chance to meet you as well. So when you say there are different ways to this, then what is your way? What is your modality? How's your approach?
Yeah, so that's sort of changed. I have a lot of tools that I work with. So initially, when I was just sort of not on the path, when I was really in the matrix, the main tool that I came across, just sort of out of desperation, I wasn't really looking for spirituality. I wasn't looking for awakening. I didn't even know it existed, but I came across meditation as a way to calm my mind. I just wanted the off button for the mind because it was pathological at that time. So I got into Vipassana meditation at that time. That was a stepping stone for me, and took me into just myself, into my own inner exploration. So I've explored all different forms of meditation. At the center here, we use meditation, self-inquiry. We've explored all different things like sound as a way to go into the inner world, plant medicines. We sometimes do microdosing at our meditation retreats, which can just sort of unfilter the self structure. It's sort of an accelerator sometimes. So yeah, so I would say of all the tools or more modalities that I work with, the self-inquiry is the most powerful for awakening. So we're using a particular technique that comes from a guy named Charles Berner. He was sort of in the Zen world, but he also used the techniques of modern psychology. So it's kind of like, it's almost like meditating with a partner. And out of anything I've found on the planet so far, this seems to be the fastest way to get people to awaken. Because when you're sitting on a cushion, you're just sitting by yourself, and it's easy to kind of zone out, and the thoughts can take you. But when you're sitting with a partner, it it sort of brings you into the present moment. You're on the hook in a different way, and it's to me a real accelerator. Mm-hmm.
And you formulate it as a continuum with meditation, like inquiry is a continuum with meditation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I started out, I had a lot of physical healing and mental healing that had to happen first. So that usually in the meditation world, people will start out with some form of mindfulness, where they're doing some sort of practice. There's some sort of technique involved. Usually, focusing on the breath or focusing like on a body scan or that type of thing. And to me, there's a progression in meditation where these techniques are very useful at the beginning. They're cultivating attention and the capacity to surrender, bringing you in the present moment. But as we progress in meditation, there's less and less doing. There's less and less activity. So we start out with the techniques, and eventually we arrive at these forms of meditation where it's really just being. It's just being present. So these are the sort of non-dual forms of meditation, like Dzogchen or Mahamudra, or in Zen, there's it's called Shikantaza, which is just sitting. Basically, you're not. There's no doing. There's no activity of a meditator doing something, or some practice. But it's really just coming into the present moment and just being.
And you mentioned that in the beginning you sought after meditations. Did you find meditations such as those you are making today? And because there's a lot of people who have seen your YouTube meditations.
Mm-hmm.
Is that inspired by what you found in the beginning, or was there not that when you started?
Yeah, I've really all of the traditions that I've encountered, whether it's Buddhism or Vedanta or Taoism, I've sort of I feel like I've just kind of distilled my own understanding of it. So I feel like all the great traditions are sort of doing the same thing. Even the Christian mystics, they call it prayer. It's but whatever you call it, I feel like there's one sort of underlying truth that leads to samadhi, and it has to do with sort of letting go of the ego or the doer. There's a falling away that sort of happens in all of these traditions. When you explore the mystics of those traditions, there's also the dogma within the tradition, which is different, but anybody who does a real investigation into their true nature, I feel like the mystics of those traditions arrive at the same truth.
So just having that point in mind from before, so you started out by saying this quote from Carl Jung and with the unconscious, and what it reminded me of was that it might be pointing to in astrology. The critique astrology often gets is, that's just your personality, right? And then meditation is kind of beyond that. But I'm wondering if that is the self-structure that you're also talking about. You're talking about a self-structure, right? So that is maybe what we can read in a chart. That is a person's self-structure. That is what we identify with. And so that is the conditioned mind. Is that the same? In your terminology, self-structure and conditioned mind, is that the same?
Yeah. Usually when I talk about the personality or the conditioned self structure, it's there's some sort of thing or that we're pointing towards. It's a limited sort of self that there's some sort of phenomena or mind, body, energy, whatever level of mind or body or energy we're talking about, there's still something that we're pointing towards.
Yeah. And I think it is true that the more we are identified with that, what you just said, the better we can predict what's going to happen in astrology, because the more predictable we just are if we identify with that. But apart from that, I have questions as well, prepared questions. Let me just take a look. Yes, because you put it like this, that the truth is revealed when one realizes all aspects of the self-structure to be empty or devoid of self. And I would love if you could explain that for us.
Yeah, so there's different sort of lenses that we can use to talk about this, but one of the lenses I use is the Buddhist lens, which talks about this self-structure in terms of the five skandhas, which are they're just the operations of the self-structure. They're just the functions. So if you see the totality of this self-structure as there's this sense that there's this body, there's sensations arising on the body, there's perceptions. So the perceptive apparatus is distinguishing things. It's just distinguishing. There's a part of the mind that separates. It's like the mind is like this razor that's separating one thing from another. So we have sensations, perceptions, and then based on those perceptions, there's this ego that another part of the mind that has preferences towards those things. So it's labeling, not just dividing things into things, but it's saying this thing is good, this thing is bad. And we develop preferences around those things, which are just the habit pattern of the operation of this self-structure. And so we start to identify a sense of I with that habit pattern. So the sense of I is just a collection of these tendencies to prefer one thing over another. And it's crazy. We say this is me. This is I am this person. Like I'm whatever that I is. If I say I am followed by anything, so I'm Christian, I'm Jewish, I'm Canadian. It's like I've identified this sense of I with some perception, and there's usually some sort of preference or entanglement with that concept. So the totality of our self structure is made of these operations of mind. And the stickiest one is that there is a witnessing part of the mind that witnesses all of this other phenomena as well. And this witness is what creates this split where there's the sense of witness and what is witnessed, or subject and object. And so this whole operation of mind, when we go into meditation, my favorite meditation teacher is Dogen, and he says that meditation is the dropping off of mind and body. So we're dropping off this entire apparatus, dropping the identification, with these preferences. So we're, in meditation, we go into it and we sort of go beyond our comfort zone. So we stop trying to escape from our pain. We're just sitting there. We're just sitting, and all of this phenomena is just arising and passing away. And in day-to-day life, we react to that phenomena. We're constantly reacting to whatever is arising in the self-structure. So when we go into meditation, we just don't react. We're just present. And it allows the energy to become free of these conditioned patterns. And, in the Buddhist tradition, they call these the samskaras, or these patterns that we identify this sense of I with. So if we take that to its conclusion, where the complete dropping off of mind and body, there's no more sense of I entangled with the phenomena that's arising. It's like whatever is arising, it's like it's rather than going through this filter apparatus, there's a directness to it. There's a direct experience. So it's just like a being here in this moment.
Amazing. Oh, yeah, that it really blows my mind that what we talk about as samskaras and what we identify with is also in the category of traumatic adaptations. It's also in the category of what I see in your birth chart. It's like it's all that personality, right? That is maybe based on trauma, really. What many of us understand as wounding, deep wounding.
Yeah, to me, the whole operation of mind it has to do with resistance patterns. So when energy follows a pathway, when energy moves, whatever it's moving through, there's resistance there. So these self structures there's a sort of resistance. And if you look at nature, you look at lightning, or you look at any energy pattern, it forms these branching patterns, just like the neural pathways in the brain. And when we have an experience in life that has a strong charge to it, a lot of energy to it, if we're like a little kid, we have a certain wiring in the mind body, but something comes and there's a big charge to it. It overwhelms. It's like putting a high voltage through small wiring, and so what happens to that energy? It branches off. It forms new wiring in the unconscious, and so that those are, if there's a huge charge to that you could call that a trauma. When whatever happens to that child, the wiring is overwhelmed, and then something, this new wiring, new part of the mind, unconscious, starts to operate, and until it's integrated.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to look at my questions, what I've prepared, but I also, because I've read. So when I say that you say this and that, that's because I've read your blog posts, and I feel. I mean, this is what you talk about in different pieces of it, and and explain even more in depth of it. Okay, and I'll just say what I thought about. I was thinking about the blog post where you talk about the energy branches.
Mhm.
Is that what you were just saying with even the neurological pathways and the... Was that...
Yeah. So the energy branching, like to me, the in the Hermetic teachings, they say the universe is mind. The entire universe is the one mind. So what we're doing in this human experience is, it's like part of the one mind has split itself into these different characters that we're playing. So the Mannah character is just a dissociated part of the one mind, in order to have an experience. That's we wouldn't have experiences of we wouldn't have any experiences if there wasn't this sort of dissociation. So to me, it's like a game of hide and seek that the one consciousness is playing. Somehow this matrix is designed for this game of hide and seek, to have an experience of this separateness, so that the one can know itself as many.
So the one can know itself as many. Can we live and provide for ourselves as without a conditioned mind? I mean, if we are not conditioned to our conditions, then that's a problem.
Yeah. So to me, like awakening, it like you awaken from identification with this character, but yet the character, like the boundaries, this separate self structure is what we experience the human life through. So you don't lose that. It's actually really important to have healthy boundaries, and on many different levels. Like we want a healthy immune system, we want a healthy sense of this I, but we don't have to identify with it. So the question is, when I say I, am I identified with this character? So that when we awaken, it's including this conditioned self. It's so Ken Wilber in integral theory, they talk about transcending, but also including what comes before. So we don't. It's not like we lose anything. We don't. So like this Dan character has certain things that it has learned, conditioned knowledge. Like how to optimally care for this body. What diet to eat. So when you awaken from the character, it doesn't mean that you stop, you forget everything or you lose all that conditioned knowledge. It's still there, it's still operating. It's just that the sense of I has flipped from that character to the unlimited self, or the true I, the eyeless I.
There's simply more. I mean, more possibility.
Yeah, it's the sense of self. It's like waking from a dream. Literally everyone, seems to have this sense that I've witnessed many awakenings and went many Kensho moments, and the thing that seems to be common is it is like waking from a dream. It's like I was playing this character, playing out this whole drama for years and years, and then suddenly it's like I've woken up from that. It's like the pattern and the seeking and the searching and the doing and all of that is happening within this dream character, and we're either sort of identified with that dream, or we're awake in the moment, unfiltered, and that it's exactly like when the moment you wake up from a dream, and it's like, oh yeah, I was a, whatever I was in that dream, I was a butterfly or whatever, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm not a butterfly. I'm just here. I'm awake, and it's exactly like that. There's a sense that in the great traditions they talk about Maya or illusion, and so it's not that the world disappears when we awaken. Everything remains exactly as it is, but it's this sense of being that dream character. It's like being awake in the dream rather than being caught in. It's like being a character in a play where all of a sudden you forget that you're playing the character, and you're identified. So suddenly life can become serious. If I believe I'm this character, then there's real suffering. If I think I'm the character and the drama it's happening to me. But if I'm playing a character, then that suffering is lessened to a huge extent, to completely, because we know it's a play.
Like a dream, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. From that description, I'm not totally sure. Okay, let me start by saying that I think that we are all on an awakening journey somehow. I mean, just gradually throughout life. But I wanted to share with you that I feel in the last couple of weeks that I've been. I don't even know if you can talk about it like that, but I don't know what else it is if it's not awakening for me personally. And when you describe it like that, I'm like, okay, I'm not there yet. But still, I've been having experiences and very complete shift in my mindset without any apparent reason. It's not like I've done this thing and then I was happy. It just happened, and and I've shared it with my friends, and I've shared it even with my astrology teacher, but they don't seem to really think much of it other than that it might just be a shift in my mood. So I don't know if I can ask you about that. I mean, you say
Yeah,
you've witnessed many people having an awakening experience. How,
yeah,
yeah.
hmm yeah, yeah. So what? Yeah, how would you convey that?
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with, conveying it even. It's just it's so much more hope. There's something about that, something about whatever is gonna happen, it's gonna work out. So there's more hope, and I guess it's also about a question that I have for you around outward orientation, because I've certainly been very stuck in that, and I've been aware. Man, don't look at the likes, don't look at how many plays and all of that. But still, it has bothered me, right? And and that I feel has also shifted into something easier, lighter.
hmm Yeah, to me, that lightening or the sense of ease, the farther we go on this path, those are indicators that we're going in the right direction, definitely. So the question I have for you, in this moment, tell me who you are in this moment. What is the sense of I in this moment?
I mean, I really feel it is a complex question, considering my background, because I've been programmed to not be anyone important, you see? So that's part of my programming, but it's also part of my opinion that titles don't matter. It really does not matter. So, but all of that is actually old. It's not part of my awakening, you see? Um, and
Yeah.
also, I've heard that question asked, and I've heard the levels you can answer on. You can say, I'm a soul on a journey, or you could say, oh, I have so and so many kids and where I live. So all of that is popping up when you ask.
Yeah.
Um,
So the question, and maybe this is a little bit of a lead in to how the self-inquiry really works.
yeah.
So when I say, tell me who you are, um, is it possible? Is there a way to directly experience the truth of who you are? So when I say directly, I mean not via the mind. So you hit the truth. Like when this is what happens when everybody begins self-inquiry. They see the conditioned self. Like you're going to see the operation of the conditioned self. It's always the false self until it's not. So when we begin this inquiry, we see all of that conditioning. So you said I've been conditioned to be no one, or whatever it is, right? Like all of these traditions, we can have baggage. I had a lot of kind of Buddhist training, and they taught me that there is no self. So which presents huge obstacle for self-inquiry. So, but because for me, it was just a belief. Um, but what it's actually pointing towards is something different. It's towards this direct experience of our true nature, this unmediated experience.
Does
Yes.
that have word? Does it have words? The immediate experience.
Well, the mind can make up words about it. When we do self-inquiry, there are sort of two aspects to it. The invitation is to have this direct, unmediated experience of awareness, or you could say consciousness. It's the invitation is to wake up to our true nature here and now. And then the second part is a sort of clearing process that happens. So the mind will continue to move. It's like the mind is in motion. The mind is just all these layers of unconscious movement. So as we inquire deeper and deeper, these unconscious parts of the mind start to trickle up to the surface and become conscious. So there's this clearing process that starts to happen. And when we do it in the dyads, it happens very quickly. All kinds of emotions and traumas and whatever's in the unconscious will start to quickly come to the surface. And for people engaging in this, there is a move. You have to be sort of up for moving beyond your comfort zone with this, because you're going to see and experience all that has been sort of pushed away. But there's an unburdening that happens in that process. There's also, I would say the most important way to engage with the self-inquiry is to enter into a don't know mind. So if I say, tell me who you are, the mind, it loves to be in control. It loves to answer. It wants to come up with an answer, but we have to allow the mind to sort of let go in order to inquire directly into our true nature.
Okay, so it's not that I can just say I don't know, and then that's the right answer.
Yeah, no.
It's letting go into not knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, the mind, when we say I don't know, like sometimes the mind will need to express or clear whatever's authentically coming up in the moment. So I don't know is perfectly fine. I don't know is a stepping stone into this sort of letting go of the this operation. Like the mind always wants to know. It always wants to be in control. But when we come into the present moment, in order to be here now, unmediated by that conditioned mind, we have, like, what's known is just the past. It's just this wiring, these branching patterns of old energy circulating in the past. That's what's known, and we value that knowing so much in our society. It's a strange thing, for most people to realize that knowing nothing, or like Socrates is famous for saying, "I only know that I don't know." So he got it. He nailed it when he said that, because the not knowing, that capacity to drop the conditioned mind, is literally the gateway into the now, into the moment.
All we know is the past. That's what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, like the conditioned knowing, what we
Conditioned
usually
knowing.
refer to as knowledge, is just the past. It's just memory. It's concepts and beliefs and ideas.
And I think
And
that, and that could be an explanation for me around the lightness that I'm feeling is something like, yeah, that is what happened in the past. And then I'm using the word hopeful because it is hopeful to now think things can shift. It can be completely different, actually.
hmm and that it's an interesting thing. I talk about hope. To me, hope, like hope is a projection into the future. It's still a
Right.
wanting something to happen in the future. And to me, there are two operations of the mind that go together. So hope and fear always arise together.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, so hope it's just the other two sides of one coin. So hope is wanting something to happen in the future. Fear is being afraid that something will happen in the future. But both are the mind's projection into the future. And so it's still there's still an operation of mind there. So there's a beautiful like in esoteric. This is a little bit esoteric, so I'll just throw it
Please.
out there.
Yeah.
But the ego structure, which is nothing but resistance to what is. In esoteric terms, the ego structure is hell. The ego structure is it. This is what creates suffering. Essentially, is resistance to what is. It's like the sense of I that wants something other than what is arising in this moment. So if I'm wanting something other than what is right now, I'm either hoping or I'm fearing, and projecting into the future. So the way through hell in Dante's Inferno, the doorway, the gateway to hell, it says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. So the way through hell is to abandon hope and fear, which is the mind's projection. Yeah.
This is really good. This is really good.
Mm.
Thank you for that. I love that. I love it because I was also having the meta thought of, if you think that you're in awakening, you're probably not. I mean, will you even gonna walk around and consider whether you are in awakening if you are it?
Yeah, well, it's not a thought, right?
No.
It's usually, the thoughts about it
Yeah.
are the mind, right? So the mind will appropriate it. Almost everybody who I've ever seen who has had a kensho through self-inquiry or through meditation, usually the mind will at some point come back and it will take ownership, and it'll say, I did it,
Yeah.
I awakened, right?
Yeah.
So it's the mind is tenacious. The mind is very tricky and cunning at appropriating anything, even awakening. So yeah, so when you're in a direct experience, there's no question about it, because the questions have fallen away. There's only the direct experience. There's no subject and object. There's no witness and witnessed. So that mind commentary, that would be commenting on it. It's like when you see a beautiful sunset, and it's just there's this sense of awe, like a direct experience, or seeing the moon directly. It's like you're in it, but then the mind has this tendency, it'll come in and say, oh, that's a beautiful sunset. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. That's almost as good as the one I saw, here or there. And then before you know it, you're not in the experience anymore. The commentary has come back, and that filter, the operation of the skandhas is back again, and it so this is this is the duality that we experience in this human experience.
Exactly. Oh, that's very recognizable. Absolutely, because I think, yeah, I'm having the experience, but then I'm constantly finding explanations, commenting. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it make my situation better? All of that on top of it. That is, yeah. I guess it's my mind right now that likes that there's some explanation to what's going on. I mean, the mind is there, right? No matter if we're awakening or not, it's there.
And there's different sort of, I don't want to say stages, but different sort of relationships with the mind that unfold. So so when quite often when there is this sort of we start to really see the operation of the mind and realize we sort of awaken from it. But quite often there's this sort of back and forth, like I've got it, I've lost it kind of game that people will play. But there's a further unfolding where we can allow the mind, when the sense of I isn't entangled, then words can come from the mouth. We can comment, or we can express, but it's not that limited self. The limited self is analyzing, and it's evaluating, and it's this duality of right and wrong, trying to be right.
Yeah.
When we say something, and there's this sense of I that is invested in being right. But when that sense of I is dropped, then the words can become more of a free play of expression. And it's not about being right or wrong. It's not evaluating or labeling. I don't have to label the tree. I can express. There can be a freeness within the self structure. So it's not about giving up language, but language is no longer entangled with the sense of I. So it can be more of a free play of expression.
Yeah, I feel it's spot on. You're really speaking to me. It is something that I think a lot about. Apropos, I do think a lot about that. Coming from a very religious background, where there was a lot of should and a lot of right and wrong, to now where I'm more in the phase of discovering every time it comes up, and also in finding joy in that I don't have that much need of being right anymore. That is a very peaceful place to be. That I don't need to be right anymore. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's a burden to be right, because there's no end to it. There's no end. You can be right in one moment, but then it's like you have to keep defending that
Exactly.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
A tough position, but it makes sense when you are there.
To me, the right and wrong, as soon as you make yourself right, then you make someone else wrong as well. So to me, the movement from that mind that is analyzing and creating right and wrong, the movement from that mind, the conditioned mind, to the heart, is actually, that's what connects us with other. If we're not entangled in that game of trying to be right, then we can actually connect to others, because we don't have to make them wrong and make ourselves right. We can just allow this free play of expression.
But I'm also aware now, when I'm interviewing you, I do feel I have some questions that I want to get through. That's one choice, and the other choice would be to be completely free flowing, just with words back and forth and connecting. I guess that maybe that would bring more of connection, but then I have preferences. It's so mixed. I don't know. Do we have to, if we are not conditioned in our minds, do we then just, what do we do for a living? Is it just meditation teaching that's left then?
Well, to me, that question, what do we do? To,
Even that. Yeah.
to, to me, that, you know, it's more childlike than, like they say, to enter the kingdom of heaven, you become as a little child again. So, to me, it's a child doesn't say, what do I do? Right? Like they just go and play. Like there's just an energy that moves, so it's this calculating kind of analysis, I think, is what gets in the way, what wanting to know ahead of time, like how should I be? What should I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we drop that filter, then what's left? It's just here. We're just here, um, just being, just being. So what does the energy want to do in the moment? How do you want to play in the moment?
That is certainly the process. I feel the exact thing you just said is the process of, if you want to talk about a goal, even that is, but that is kind of what you are directing at in therapy,
Mhm.
breaking up what's interfering with your just immediate presence.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's there's a flip like when we do these intensive retreats over time, the mind will get exhausted, in its process of doing an analysis, and it's like you start to notice people will start to get kind of giddy a little bit. They become more playful. The mind is kind of delirious sometimes after doing the inquiry for hours and hours. People are getting tired, and there's this kind of lightness and playfulness that starts to come, and that's what it is. It's like our energy is just trapped in these patterns, and when that energy becomes free, there's just a spontaneity that starts to come.
Okay, I'm gonna take a challenge that I'm just gonna make up. I'm gonna shut down my questions and use
Awesome.
and use the
Yeah.
last 10 minutes to just ask you what comes up. Okay,
Awesome. Awesome.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's be real right now and not just talk
Okay.
about it. Yeah, I a question that comes to mind is, are we awakening now? You call it Awaken the World, so I'm sure there's a lot in that for you, those words. Are we
Mhm.
awakening, and who are? Is it the whole world?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
And like no one can answer that for you, right? Like no one can answer, who is awakening, you know, because it's direct. It has to be direct. So the who are you? Who awakens? So that's what we find out directly. So in the world, there's a weird paradox to all of this. So what I've realized, at the beginning of the path, I thought that, I was going to awaken, because I was identified with the Dan character. So I thought, there's this me, this Dan character that awakens, but I awaken from that Dan character. So what is that awakens from the character? It's the same one awareness that awakens from all the characters. It has no quality, but it's what remains when the mind and body drop off. There is that which remains, and it, whether this self structure is in waking, dreaming, or deep sleep, there's some continuity. There's a ground of existence, and this primordial I amness that remains, and it doesn't come and go. Even when this mind body is changing states, the awakening is not a state. It's not something that changes. It's ever present. It's simply recognizing what's always already present.
Was that the end of? Was that the end? I have to ask questions to know more. Then, I just felt you were talking about that continuity,
Yeah.
and so what is that? This what you said earlier about being the observer. I translate that into being the Shen, because that is a word you use in Qigong terms. Being the Shen, the observer. Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about the soul, or am I categorizing again?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so if we talk about what the operation of the mind is, there's this sense of a witness, and what is being witnessed.
Yeah.
And so we can sort of, the sense of I can be sort of resting as that witness, but there's still this duality. There's still this split
Yeah.
of observer and observed. So so the true self, when we awaken, it's more direct than that. And we can give it different words. We can, it doesn't matter what we call it. People will use, the mind will come up with different words. So sometimes different teachers will call it awareness or primordial awareness. But it's simply that I amness that has no quality. So when you were a little kid, you go back to the earliest memories of being a child. There's a sense that I am, that I exist. There's some beingness that is looking out of the eyes, or it's there, and that I amness is there when you're a teenager. It's here in this moment, the sense that I am, and it's always there. So the mind body changes through the life, but that I amness is always there. And and that I amness can wake up directly to itself. So in the ancient traditions, um, they talk about the different types of samadhi, or so when we awaken, when we go to sleep at night, in deep sleep, it's as if we disappear in deep sleep. There's this kind of gap or disappearing that happens for most people. But when that primordial awareness wakes up to itself, there's a continuity even through deep sleep. There's a sense that I and I'm saying I in a, this is the most mysterious thing. This is the mystery of what we are. There's something that is continuous through deep sleep, and I can't say what that is.
Okay.
But so I can say, I can call it primordial awareness, but until we have a direct knowing of that, until it is awake within our being, it's just words, it's
Yeah.
just concepts. Yeah. So and to me, that, it's a byproduct of meditation and self-inquiry. It's like they call it turiya in Vedanta. So this is the ground of our being, or sometimes they call it the fourth state. So there's waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, but turiya is this ever-present sense of I amness that is it. There's this continuity in all of these changing mind states.
Good. Good. I'm glad that it was not a basic question. It seemed
Yeah,
it's a
no, it's
complex one.
it's getting to the heart of, to me the Turiya is, or that ground of being is the closest to the truth of what we are, when that awakens within each individual. It's like an opening. It's like awareness recognizing itself, within this
Awareness.
human experience. Yeah.
Oh, and it's recognizing itself. Yeah. I have about 5 minutes with you and making choices right now about what to ask you, but I do want to just touch a little bit more about the world part of it, the collective. I mean, when you chose the name Awaken the World, is it because of the intention to awaken the world, or do you also see right now that there is something going on that more and more people? I mean, surely in the last 10 years, more and more people have gone into spirituality. I'm thinking about when Neptune went into Pisces. I think that was in 2011. And so, but yeah, how do you see the influences of the collective energy around this?
Yeah, so I feel like the energy in the collective right now is an energy of awakening. So when awakening, when you know, if we use the analogy of what happens in self-inquiry, this is what's happening in the world right now. It's like we're sort of going through this collective um, purification or collective dark night of the soul, you could even call it, where all that is in the unconscious is starting to become visible. So we're seeing, incredible stuff, becoming visible. The darkness that was in the shadows is now fully coming to light. So I see, the patterns, the egoic patterns that have become established in all the institutions, in education, in religion, politics, medicine, everything. These egoic patterns are becoming visible now. We're seeing them for what they are, and it's an opportunity to allow transformation and let all of that go. So to me, the challenge in the world is due to egoic consciousness. And I feel like they're, simultaneously all, the collective samskaras are being purified or brought into the light. Um, and consequently, people are waking up more and more from their, whatever it is they were identified with in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's similar to what you were talking about earlier at your retreats with the unburdening process. That's what's going
Mhm.
on. It comes up what's been hidden in the shadow.
Yeah. So collectively, just even with our media and all of the the tools we have now to see what is going on in the collective, there's an acceleration of all of it. So it's like it's unfolding and unraveling more quickly. And my sense of it is, so when I created Awaken the World, um, this is kind of a strange thing. People sometimes think that I have some kind of mission to awaken the world or
Right.
intention to awaken the world, but to me, it's not separate, you know, from my own journey. Really, the more we awaken from the patterns, from the unconscious patterns, from the character on all these different levels, the more we actually start to see the one source. So we see the one source shining through all of these characters. So the paradox is that it's not me that awakens. I awaken from me,
Yeah.
and I see the world as awake, or I see the one source in everything. So this is the paradox. So to awaken oneself or awaken from oneself is literally seeing the world as awake, or awakening the world. You're not really awakening the world, but you see the world as it is.
This is really good. This is really good. Yeah. And taking me out of me, the me as the center, but more like when getting images when you speak, like light coming through me, and then you see something bigger that's, yeah, outside
Yeah.
of you, I guess, or that is what you're made up of.
Yeah, it's really, the self-inquiry is that, once we know who we are, you also know who everyone else
Mm.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Thank you so much, Daniel, for being here on on tap. I'm glad that we made the match anyway, and
Thank you.
and
Thank you for having me. Yeah, that was beautiful. It was a deep dive. It was,
right.
interesting unfolding. Yeah,
And
thank you.
just
Thank
the
you.
last question: don't you recognize any Gemini traits in yourself?
Uh, what would those be
Oh
exactly?
God, I can't. I should have prepared. Well, when I'm reading some of your blog posts, I'm feeling into that, especially the one blog post about the branches, the energy branches,
Yeah.
branching out like a mind. This is my words now. Like a mind map, like going just and expanding. That is, it's obviously the higher quality of Gemini, and also you share not birthday, but the day after you, a different year, different age, but the day after you is. Do you know? Of course you know, but have you met Jon Kabat-Zinn? Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I haven't met him, but
okay.
I know him, his work well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. Gemini is like, you could maybe think, okay, Gemini, they are so, HDHD or something. So, but how could they meditate, right? But that's that's just one version. On a higher level, it's more to do with actually seeing through perception itself.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the character, the whatever this vehicle is, yeah, it's probably been created or tuned in a way that is useful
Good way to say it.
for me.
Good
Yeah.
way to say it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah,
Wonderful.
wonderful. Okay, take care.
You
Okay.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.